Hello everyone and welcome back to the Copite Way. My name is Faisal Khan, and before we get started, just a few friendly reminders. One, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the bell for more Copite Way content, like, share, comment, and make sure you follow us on our Twitter account. The link for our Twitter account is below in the description of the video. Now, let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about transfers, and there's quite a few rumours going around Liverpool Football Club with ins and outs and players that have been linked with the club and players that have been linked with a move away. And look, only rightfully so. The summer transfer window opens within the next few days. It's just part and parcel of football. Summer transfer window tends to blow up, be absolutely crazy. There's moves that you don't really expect to see happen. There's players that end up leaving that you thought were going nowhere. And I think it's going to be quite an interesting summer for Liverpool when it comes to transfers, given the fact that we've now got a new manager coming in Arne Slot. So, new manager, new style of play, certain players that might not be up to the manager's philosophy, certain players that might fancy a change after Jurgen Klopp. So listen, only time's going to tell with what happens with Liverpool and when it comes to transfer activity this summer. Now, what we do know is, from a few reports that have been leaked online and, paper talk and tabloid talk, is that quite a few players from Liverpool Football Club are being linked with a move to the Saudi Pro League. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard right. Our sort of story with the Saudi Pro League might continue this summer. Now, look, you go back to the summer of 2023, Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, all huge parts of Liverpool's success over the last 8 years, made the move to the Saudi Pro League. And they were two players that I never thought would leave. I honestly thought Fabinho and Henderson would be Liverpool players coming into last season. But Henderson and Fabinho went over to Saudi. We all know how it worked out with Jordan Henderson there. And Fabinho's still part of the Al Ittihad squad, and he's still part of the Saudi Pro League. Now, the players that are currently being linked with a move away to Saudi Arabia are Luis Diaz and Joe Gomez. And look, it's no secret that Saudi and their football league have pumped a lot of money into this project. You look at the high-profile names they've got there, Ronaldo, Neymar, Benzema, N'Golo Conte, Riyad Mahrez, Roberto Firmino, Sadio Mane. There's a lot of big profile players that are already there, but I feel with Saudi Arabia, what's lacking now is a sort of the younger players. And I think that's why players like Joe Gomez and Luis Diaz are being linked with a move away to Saudi Arabia. Now look, if you'd have said to me a few days ago, who's the one player that you think will be linked with Saudi, it would have been Mo Salah. Because we all know that Al Ittihad were very interested in him last summer. There was reports going around that they bidded up to £150 million. And there was reports during last season that the Saudis would come back in for him this summer. But at the moment, it looks like the players that are being linked with a move away to the Saudi Pro League are Joe Gomez and Luis Diaz. Now, look, I just want to make it crystal clear, right? My opinion, Luis Diaz, Joe Gomez are top footballers. I thought Joe Gomez had his best season in a Liverpool shirt last season. And I honestly do believe Luis Diaz is only going to get better and better and better as time goes on. So, with Luis Diaz, you've got a kid that you can work with and a kid that can improve his game. And with Joe Gomez, you've got a player that can play up to 4 positions and is the longest serving player at the club. With a new manager coming in, you'd probably be looking at those two and thinking you'd want to keep them around as long as possible. One, because Gomez knows the club very well and he can play across the back line. We even saw him slot into that inverted midfield role. And two, Luis Diaz is going to get better. Now, I know he never had his greatest season last year, but I thought he had an okay season. But look at what he's been through over the sort of last 18 months. I mean, he's had a horrific injury, that practically ruled him out for the 2023 season. And on top of that, his parents got kidnapped as well during last season. So, I think we've got to cut Luis Diaz a bit of slack. We all know the guy's quality. We all know there's just one part of his game that needs to improve, and that's his finishing. And I do believe, as time goes on, Luis Diaz can only get better and better. And then we have to take into consideration, would Arne Slot want them to be a part of his plans? I think he would. I can't see Arne Slot wanting to rip up the team. I can't see him wanting to sell a number of players. Look, there might be the odd player that might leave. And there might be the odd player that doesn't fit into the new manager's style of play. That's just how football works. But I do believe Luis Diaz and Joe Gomez are going nowhere this summer. And especially not to Saudi Arabia. Another player being linked with a move away is the number 2 goalkeeper, Caoimhin Kelleher. Now, I've read a few things online over the last few days, and Caoimhin Kelleher has come out and said that he feels as if he is no longer a number 2, a backup goalkeeper, and he feels as if he's ready to become a number 1. And look, the kid's a quality keeper. He's the number 1 for his native country in the Republic of Ireland. And number 2, look, every time he stepped up for us, he's done a job. I mean, look at the 2 Carabao Cups we won under Jurgen Klopp. You have to call them the Caoimhin Kelleher Cups. I mean, the kid can pull off an amazing save. But unfortunately, he's got a mistake in him, and we've seen it in the games against Fulham last season. We've seen it against Atalanta in the Europa League. And look, this is not me slating him. Every keeper has a mistake in him. You know, even Alisson has the odd mistake in him. But I do believe if Alisson was to leave, we could get better than Caoimhin Kelleher. And I do believe that he's not ready to be the full-time number 1 goalkeeper at Liverpool. But for his career and for his sake, if a good offer was to come in the summer, I think we should accept it and we should allow him to move on and allow him to move to that next phase of his career. He's been a great servant to Liverpool. He's played a lot of games. You know, he's part of our history. He's part of the club's history. You know, he's won a lot of medals at the club. He's been around for a very long time, and he's at that point now where he wants to be playing weekly and he wants to be a number 1. And look, he could easily go to a club in the Premiership and become their number 1. You know, there's a lot of clubs in Europe that might fancy taking a chance on him. But whoever does sign Caoimhin Kelleher in the summer is getting a very good goalkeeper. And I wouldn't want to see him move on, but for his career and for him to develop, we shouldn't stand in his way and we should accept his decision. Now let's talk about a player that has been linked with a move to Liverpool Football Club, and that player is Brentford's Bryan Mbuemo. Now, Mbuemo's 24 years old. He's been in the Premier League for 3 years, and we're going to read a few stats. He's played a total of 98 games in the league, and he's scored 22 Premier League goals. 24 years old, I don't think those stats are particularly amazing, but I don't think they're bad stats. Because, look, it's very hard to shine at a club like Brentford. And no disrespect to Brentford, they've got one star man, and that's Ivan Toney. So, look, there's no secret, and there's no denying that we need to improve the front line. I mean, one of our Achilles heel and our biggest problems last season, especially towards the end of last season, was we wasn't clinical enough in front of goal. So I do believe we need to improve the front line. However, do I believe we can get better than Bryan Mbuemo? Yes, I believe we do. And there's 2 players out there that I would have over Bryan Mbuemo. That's Jarrod Bowen and Mohamed Kudus. I do believe those 2 players could do a job for Liverpool. But look, I'm not Arne Slot. I'm not the manager of Liverpool Football Club. I'm a fan, just like millions of other fans around the world. And this is my opinion. And I think Mbuemo's a decent player, but I honestly think we can get better than Bryan Mbuemo. But, you know, as a fan, if he was to move to Liverpool, you've got to back it. You know, you've got to give the lad time, and you've got to hope that he does turn out to be a success, and he does turn out to be, you know, one of our star players. But if we're at that phase now where we are in those last few months or the last season with Mohamed Salah, we've got to start thinking about the future. We've got to start thinking about who could be the man that could take over from Mohamed Salah. Because I do believe we can get better than Bryan Mbuemo, and I do believe that there's players in the Premier League that can do a better job than Bryan Mbuemo. You know, look at Elise and Eze from Crystal Palace. Great footballers. You know, they're players that I'd have at Liverpool right now. But again, listen, these are all rumours. These are all tabloid talk. You know, but we can only report on what we're seeing. So, you know, a few players linked with a move away. And there's quite a few names that are being linked with a move to Liverpool. Another one of those is Ollie Watkins. Now, look, you know, I've not heard much about the Ollie Watkins move. I've heard more about the Bryan Mbuemo move in the last 48 hours than I have with Ollie Watkins. But I read an article the other day. Apparently, Arne Slot's a fan of Ollie Watkins. Now, look, Aston Villa are now a Champions League football club. They don't have to sell. They've got Champions League revenue coming in. If anything, they're going to be probably one of the top spenders in the Premier League this season. And they've got a project under Unai Emery, and they are one of the most improved teams in the Premier League. So you'd have to ask yourself, one, do Aston Villa need to sell? And two, if we were to go for Ollie Watkins, realistically, we would have to be probably looking at spending over £100 million. Now, would I like Ollie Watkins at Liverpool? Absolutely I would. I think the guy's one of the best strikers in the league. I think he's better, way better than Darwin Núñez, and I think he's better than Diogo Jota. But again, are we going to break our transfer policy to go and sign one player? I don't believe we will. You know, I would like to see us go and get a marquee signing this summer. But at the same time, I've got to look at the fact that there's a new manager coming. You know, Michael Edwards is back. And there's going to be a structure at the club. And I do believe the club won't change their transfer policy. Who would you like to see sign for Liverpool this summer? Matter of fact, who do you think will leave Liverpool Football Club this summer? Do you believe that there's any truth in the links with Luis Diaz and Joe Gomez going to Saudi Arabia this summer? And what do you think about Bryan Mbuemo? More importantly, what do you think about Ollie Watkins to Liverpool? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, smash the bell for more Cop Out Way content. Thank you very much for watching this video of the Cop Out Way. I'll be back soon with another video. You'll never walk alone.